Here's another new stamp set. This one is called A Bunch of Art, and it's SCS 163. This one comes with all these stamps that you see here, plus it has a coordinating stencil with it. And when you look at this, it's kind of intimidating, but I want to show you, once you use it, it's amazing. So I've already stamped my image. I use my Perfect White cardstock from Ranger, and I stamp my image in Jet Black Archival, which is what I do most of the time because that's a permanent waterproof ink. So I'm going to put my little piece of tape down here. And the first thing I'll do is to ink my bucket. So if you look at this, the bucket fits right over the stamped image. And you'll see that the little handle is protected, and that's over here. And the reason I did that was it's very easy to add a shadow here now, or if you want to make the handle a different color, so that gives us a couple different options. So the first thing I'll do is use my watering can archival ink. And I'll get my little blending tool here, pick up my foam from underneath my little mini pad, go ahead and get this inked. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a light layer of watering can archival ink, and I can just kind of swipe this on, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Okay, so I have that on there. I want to add some shading now to these dark areas, so I'm going to switch over to the little detail blending tool, and I'll just go ahead and ink that. Put my stencil back on here. Okay, so you can see that my background is all protected. Those flowers are protected. So if I want to add some darkness in these corners here, underneath the flowers and the leaves, very easy to do with this stencil. You can see now I have a little highlight in the center here. Same thing with the rest of the bucket. So if I want some shadow underneath the handle, and I'm just going to swipe lightly from the outside in. You don't want to press really hard because you just want to add a little bit of ink. And you have to remember, it's so much fun using these things, you don't want to color the whole thing in. You want to leave a highlight and to leave some variation in the color. That's really the purpose of this detail blending tool. Okay, maybe I want a little bit here underneath this rim, just a little bit. Alright, so I have my bucket done. I think I'll decide on my handle color after I get my flowers done. I think I'll do violet for this guy. And you can see now I don't need to mask anything because I'm not using this big blending tool. With this little detail tool I can ink this tiny little flower. I'm going to add some light color to it and then a little bit darker at the base so that it's got some dimension to it. And you can see it's super easy. Next thing I'll do, I think I'll move on to my big flowers. And once you have this lined up, you can see all of the flowers are open, so I can add ink to those individually. I might do purple again for the little guys maybe. So this is violet. And since I didn't do the flower centers, I could do the flower centers first or I could do them last. I'm just going to kind of keep the color light here. And I think I'll do this other little guy here in violet also. And you can see this is why I'm so thrilled with these detail blending tools, because I don't have to mask anything. So I have those done now. So now I need to choose a color for my big flowers, and how about sunflower? So I'll get my blending tool here, get my stencil back on. Oops. Get that lined up again. And I could have taped it in place, but some days things don't go as planned. I'm just going to lightly press, twist, and turn, and that's going to put a little bit of ink on there. And I want to kind of start with a light color so that I can go back with the detail blending tool now and add some more shading to those larger flowers. So I have the option, I can stick with the same color if I want to. If I want to stick with sunflower, because they're translucent ink, the more you add, the darker it will get. So I'll do that on one so you can see that. And you don't have to cover the whole petal. You can leave it with some areas of a lighter color. Give it a little more variation. Okay, so that's with sunflower. If I want to switch over to maybe poppy, you'll see on this one I'll add some poppy to it. Oops. Okay, and just little swiping motions. And like I said, make sure you don't color in the whole petal. And you can always put the stencil back on. One of the things about having your stencil clean is that you can position it perfectly. If this thing is covered with paint, you're not going to be able to see through it. So I'm kind of a fanatic about cleaning my stencil when I'm done. Okay, so I want to maybe stick with Poppy now since I have that out. So I'll do these little petals in Poppy. Okay, and my flowers are done. So so far this is a completely flat card. Alright, so now I need to do my leaves. And you can see here I have this stem. And if you look at the stencil, it really gives you a good hint. So I can kind of see the shape here. So I know this is going to fit right over my leaves. And again, this is where these the detail blending tools are so awesome. I'm going to start with a lighter color, and I'm going to use Prickly Pear this time. And I know I want the tips of my leaves to be lighter, so I'm going to start with the lighter color there and just lightly swipe in from the outside of the stencil. And again, I don't have to mask anything. These little tiny leaves are perfect. They're just so easy to color with this thing. Okay, even this little flower stem, just a little bit of swiping is all we have to do. Okay, now I'll switch to a little bit darker color, and I'm going to use peat moss this time. So just a little bit of ink again on my detail blending tool. And this time I'm going to start from the base of the petal because that's what I want to be darker. And just kind of lightly swipe out until the colors are blended. And this gives you a really nice variation in the color. And super easy to do. Pretty easy? Alright, so now how about my handle there? Maybe I want to make that peat moss too. I kind of like that color. So this, oops, I'm going to put the handle here. Okay, so now that's open in the handle area, and the rest of this is all protected. So I can go ahead with my little detail blending tool. I want to make sure that I have darker colors up at the top of the bucket where it would be darker, and I want to leave a highlight here. So I'm just going to lightly swipe over that area. Just kind of get my colors blended down. And like I said, I want to leave a little bit of highlight in the center so the bucket actually looks rounded. If I like it, maybe on a little bit more. And you could also go in like with watering can or one of the darker colors and add a little bit more shading up here. I think I'll just stick with the same color. And you can see the more color you add, the darker it gets. So now I have a really dark area there. One little tip that's really kind of fun is if you get carried away and you ink too much and you kind of lost your highlight here, I just use the Picket Fence Distress Crayon and add some white into it. Don't add any water, just kind of spread it around with your finger, and you can see that kind of brings back the highlight. Right? And then the final thing I need to do is fill in my flower centers. And this one's a little bit tricky to figure out, but once you get it, you got it. Okay. So Matt the Genius has this all figured out, so all 5 flower centers get done at one time. So now I can just kind of choose my color. I think I'm going to use red uranium this time. And I'll ink my little detail blending tool again. And all I have to do is press down, twist, and turn. That's going to fill in those areas. And again, no masking needed. And I think that's what's genius about this. He's got these figured out perfectly for us. And there you have it, a perfectly flat, one-layer card. Very easy, right? So the next thing is, what if I wanted to take this to the next level? So I wanted to show you a couple more options. Single layer card, no other dimension. Obviously I would add some enamel accents and some other little details, but here it is, completed card. This is all completely flat again. And then we also have the coordinating matte minis for these, and this is another example, same exact flower that I used, but with the matte mini, so these have dimension on it. So tons of different opportunities with the stamp set. That's why it's one of my favorites.